Welcome to Rges Algebra 1. This is lesson 1.5, expressions from word statements. Now, an expression, recall, is an algebraic statement. I don't really like that word in this particular case, but I'm struggling for the word. An algebraic grouping of symbols and variables, constants, operations without an equal sign or an inequality sign. That's very important. So I'm trying to write expressions from word statements. Before we begin, we need to remind you all the different ways I can write multiplication. I can say 3 times 5 or 3 times x. I can say, of course, we don't want to use the x sign for multiplication because we do have the x variable now and we don't want it to be confusing. But I could say 3 with a parenthesis, and when the constant is lined up right next to the parenthesis, okay, with no symbol or anything else between it, that means multiply. Or I could say 3 times x that way for the same reason. I could put both in parentheses, and when I have a parenthesis sign lined up right next to a parenthesis sign with nothing in between, that means multiply also. So that's 3 times 5. This would be 3 times x for the same reason. And there is one more way I can do it over here, not here, but over here I could just put the constant right next to the variable. And that also means 3 times x. I could not do that over here on the left because if I put the constant right up next to the constant, I would think 35 and not 3 times x. So I cannot do it there, but I can do it here. In fact, that will be the most common way you will see multiplication indicated when you have a constant and a variable. Okay? So, what you will be asked to do in this section, you will be asked to translate from English into algebraic expression. The first one says, subtract 6 from 21. This is example 1 on page 22. Subtract 6 from 21, then add 3. So I start with not the 6, but the 21, because I have to take 6 away from the 21. So it would be 21 minus 6, add 3. And the question is, do I need any parentheses? And the answer is no. Because what would be the order of operations? First I would do my subtraction, and then I would do my addition from left to right. And what did I say I wanted to do first? Subtract 6 from 21. There I did that first, and then add the 3. So I do not need parentheses. Now, would it be wrong to do this? No. You're free to do that. We would call them redundant parentheses. I would have known how to do that without the parentheses, but feel free to write the parentheses in. Now, the next one says, subtract 6 from 21, then divide by 3. Okay, so start with my 21, subtract 6. And if I want to divide by 3, do I need parentheses? Yes. Why? Because if I did not have any parentheses, I would do this first. Because order of operations says multiplication and division comes before addition and subtraction. But I did not want to do it that way. Look at your English expression. It says subtract the 6 from 21 first, and then divide. So this would be the only way I could do it. Now, I could have also written it this way. 21 minus 6 and put my fraction bar to mean division. My fraction bar would say take that whole thing and divide by 3. Do I need these parentheses in the numerator? No, because this by itself tells me I'm treating this and this before I do my division. Is it legitimate to go ahead and put parentheses in here? Yes, but it is redundant. See where we're going with this? Okay, next problem. It says, add 3 to x, then square the result. Well, we start with 3 or x when I'm adding something to something else. I want to start with what I'm adding it to. So I start with my x, I add 3 to it, and it says square the result. The word result is my cue. I have to get the result first and then square it. Now, without that parenthesis, what would I have written? And that would be square it first and then add. So I must have my parentheses to make this statement. Going to the next one. Example 4, it says the sum of the squares. This one always causes students to stumble, so be very, very careful with this. I have Algebra 2 students who find difficulty with this expression. It says the sum of the squares. So I first have to have my squares, and then I have to have my sum. Is that clear to you? If I have the sum of the squares. First squares, then sum. So it says the sum of the squares of x, that would be x squared, and 3, that would be 3 squared, and then I take the sum. I could also simplify this part, so this would become x squared plus 9. So study that. That's example 4 on page 23. Please study that carefully and come and ask me if you did not understand that completely. That's a common mistake. The last one, the quantity r minus s. There's r minus s. The quantity is like the result. It's words that help me understand. I want to do that first. It says the quantity r minus s cubed. So do the cube on the entire thing. So study those examples and you'll get a chance to do several problems yourself. Be very careful as you check these. This is a key idea.